Could the central movie in the Karnstein vampire trilogy survive without either Peter Cushing or Ingrid Pitt? I'm Stephen Archibald, and I'll attempt to answer this question in my movie podcast.
If the very thought of vampires makes your flesh creep.
We call them the undead, sir. They're vampires.
If you think all vampires are ugly creatures of the night, then you're in for a shattering surprise.
Turn now this fresh, warm blood into a body of thy making.
Welcome to the most exclusive finishing school in Europe, where the quest for knowledge continues long into the night.
You see, I have studied your magic. I know the black art, and I want only to know more and more.
Here, the masters are quick to recognize an outstanding pupil.
The portrait of Camilla Karnstein. Died 1710, 120 years ago. And you know who the portrait was of, Mircala? It was you.
Welcome to the finishing school, where they really do finish you.
Hello. I bid you a warm welcome to They Came From Within, Cult Movie Reviews. Appetite for Destruction. Lust for a Vampire, 1970. Poor Lust for a Vampire. This second movie in Hammer's Karnstein trilogy wasn't well received, and that's just referring to some of those involved in the making of it. Hey ho, at least it has plenty of admirers these days. The vampire Carmilla is resurrected after a satanic ritual is conducted by Count Karnstein, who's played by a rather charmless Mike Raven, and Countess Hertizen, who's portrayed by the leading stage actress Barbara Jefford. Under the guise of young Mircala, Carmilla becomes fully revived, thanks to feeding on the blood of a couple of victims, the second one being from a posh girls' finishing school, situated close to the Karnstein castle. Carmilla's second conquest, Susan Pelly, was played by Pippa Steele, who suffered a similar fate in the previous movie, The Vampire Lovers. To play Carmilla / Mircala, Hammer turned to the stunning Danish model turned actress, Jytte Stensgaard. By this stage, she had a few minor film and TV roles under her belt, but this was the film to get her noticed. Her lack of acting experience led to Jytte giving a stilted, almost expressionless performance. But, in a peculiar way, this only seems to add to the movie's dreamlike quality. As pointed out in both my Vampire Lovers and Twins of Evil podcasts, Hammer would have loved for Ingrid Pitt to play Carmilla in all three Karnstein movies. Alas, it wasn't to be. Peter Cushing was another highly valued actor the company wanted to appear in each of these titles. He made great impact in a relatively small role in The Vampire Lovers, and gave a brilliant, full-throttle performance in Twins of Evil. Sadly, he could not take part in Lust for a Vampire because his dear wife Helen was gravely ill at the time. He was to play Giles Barton, the head teacher at the girls' school. As a favour to both Peter and the film's director, Jimmy Sangster, the 30-year-old Ralph Bates took on the role. Ralph and Jimmy had just finished making Sangster's debut movie as a director, Hammer's The Horror of Frankenstein. It's such a shame that neither Sangster nor Bates liked Lust for a Vampire. Jimmy even labelled it an embarrassment in his autobiography. And in Barnes and Hearn's book, The Hammer Story, Ralph said, "I thought it was a tasteless film, and I regret having anything to do with it." Terence Fisher was supposed to direct this picture, but a broken leg prevented the great man from doing so. When Sangster was offered the job, he only had about a week or so to prepare before shooting began. Funnily enough, Sangster's leading man Bates had also replaced Peter Cushing on the previous film, The Horror of Frankenstein. Sure, there's much that is wrong with the picture. For example, as stated, it didn't help that there was a lack of preparation time for the director, or that it was a rushed 6-week shoot, which took place between the 6th of July and the 18th of August 1970. Its timeline doesn't fit in with the other two stories. There are continuity errors, some unconvincing dummy work, scenes in which you can glimpse the cameras or see their shadows, and so forth. And yet, despite all this, the movie manages to hold your attention. It somehow seems to succeed on its own terms. This could be partly due to the appeal of seeing vampirism staged amongst gothic trappings. Who knows?
Stay with me. I have reversed the cross. You see, I have studied your magic. I know the black art, and I want only to know more and more. I meant no harm to you, I swear. I want only to worship you, to be your servant. To be a servant of the devil. He will accept me, I'm sure. I have proved my worth. I could have told them what I knew about you, but I stayed silent. I found the body of the girl you killed. I said nothing. I got rid of it myself down the well. I will do whatever you demand of me.
The personable Michael Johnson appears in this movie as a novelist called Richard Lestrange. Aiming to research the history of the Karnsteins, he inevitably falls for the blonde bombshell vampire. And here I can't avoid raising another criticism that was aimed at this film. The use of the completely anachronistic pop song Strangelove, performed by a teenage EMI contract singer called Tracy, which is played over Carmilla and Lestrange's love scene, which is set in 1830. The lovely Susanna Lee, who also appeared in Hammer's The Lost Continent from 1968, plays the school's gym teacher, Janet Playfair. And at least her attraction towards Lestrange is credible and interesting. Susanna's real name was Sandra Eileen Ann Smith. She was born in Reading on the 26th of July 1945. Susanna had the honour of playing Elvis Presley's love interest in the 1966 flick Paradise Hawaiian Style. Her genre films include Freddie Francis' The Deadly Bees from 1966, Robert Hartford Davis's The Fiend from 1972, and Freddie Francis' peculiar little scene musical drama Son of Dracula from 1974. Susanna was also delightful, playing a Secret Service agent who gets caught up with Danny and Brett in an episode of The Persuaders entitled Chain of Events. Susanna passed away at the age of 72 from liver cancer. One person who shone throughout this vampiric trilogy was the composer Harry Robinson, Each of his lush scores are of a high standard and quite memorable. So here's to you, Mr. Robinson. Sorry, I couldn't resist that line. Ute Stensgaard had a voice dubbed in this movie. She didn't even know about it until she attended the film's premiere. Mike Raven also had his vocal performance dubbed over. But, seeing as it was done by the excellent Valentine Dial, it was a great idea to do so. Lust for a Vampire, which was originally titled To Love a Vampire, was filmed at Elm Street Studios. It cost around £160,000 to make. Produced by Hammer and EMI, the film was distributed by MGM EMI in the UK and by American Continental Films in the US. In the UK, it went on general release on the 17th of January 1971, and in the States in the September of that year. Any of its failings did not prevent the marvellous Twins of Evil from surfacing soon after. I'm Stephen Archibald, and thank you very much for listening to my podcast, They Came From Within, Cult Movie Reviews. Take care, and I hope that you join me in another episode soon.
I spent the whole of last night going through Giles's researches. And believe me, they are powerful evidence.
Evidence? Of what?
That you are a vampire.
You say that. And tell me you love me.
Prove to me that you're not. Love me.
Silently stealing, so concealing, two hearts suddenly feeling. Strange, strange.
I only want to serve you. Please.